President Trump kicked it off this morning, as I mentioned, with a pretty optimistic beat, talking about America's economic achievements. Do you share that optimism right now as you look out to 2020?
Well, we were certainly encouraged by the U.S.-China Phase 1 and USMCA in the last week. Both of those getting approved, we think is a step in the right direction. We think there's some positive momentum here. And, of course, we want to see that carry over into Phase 2.
So you were, I believe, at the signing for Phase 1.
Yes.
What is going to be the impact on UPS of that deal?
Well, I think the immediate impact is that many of our customers, especially end consumers, were about to get hit with another tariff that was going to really increase the cost of goods. We got that stopped, and then some of the other tariffs were reduced. So I believe we will immediately see some relief there. And then just encourage that the two governments will find ways to reach agreements on some of these issues so that we can increase growth, trade both ways.
Yeah, what are you expecting for trade volumes this year? Because the uncertainty has lifted, but many of the tariffs are still in place.
Yeah, they are, and all of those don't go away. We just think that there's some positive momentum. We will see. I think that we will see a few more exports from China coming into the U.S. with some of that uncertainty taken away. But at the same time, Chinese exports to other parts of the world we've seen increase. So we'll see what the results here are.
What about the industrial sector of the U.S. economy? You've got a pretty good feel for manufacturing, and it has been slow.
Yeah, the last comments that I was able to make was after the third quarter. And at that time, certainly we're seeing that it just wasn't picking up the way that we would have liked. At the same time, the consumer was really carrying the economy. And then I'll be able to say more next week.
I know you're in quiet period, so you're dancing around this. Can you tell us anything about, though, the strength of the consumer over the holiday season?
Yeah, what we really saw is, from an e-commerce standpoint, picked up maybe even faster than what we thought. And there were certainly some winners, some companies that came out much better than maybe some people had expected.
Like who?
We'll talk more next week.
Can't you name names for us?
I cannot.
Was it seamless for you overall in terms of the logistics?
Yes, it was. Now, we knew it was going to be heavy because there were less days between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So right after Thanksgiving, there were a few days that were challenging, but we felt very good about how the network held up.
What about returns?
Returns are very busy this time of year. It used to be that Christmas Eve is when everything kind of slowed down. Now with returns, it carries on even through this week.
Because of the e-commerce boom and the fact that everyone's just shopping
That's right.
online.
And a lot of people, the return rate for e-commerce is just so much higher than brick and mortar.
What about globally? People look at UPS as a global economic bellwether as well.
Right.
What do you see for growth? IMF just downgraded forecast for global growth this week.
We move 3% of the world's GDP, so we have a pretty good view of what's going on at the present time. We really aren't a leading indicator. We can't tell what's going to happen in the future. And again, sorry, but next week I'll be able to talk more about how we see global trade looking.
Your stock had actually a pretty good year, up more than 20%. Your chief rival, FedEx, though, was down more than 10% for the year. How do you look at that divergence that played out?
I think what has worked for us has been that we, 6-7 years ago, really concentrated on e-commerce. We could see it coming, and we started making the investments and started developing the technology. And I just think that we are further ahead from that regard. And now e-commerce has absolutely lived up to our expectations, and it will continue. So we have to continue to transform our company and continue to stay ahead of the needs of our customers.
I would say that's been one of your signature efforts, right? Transforming the company into an e-commerce world. You've been there for 6 years. How do you think about your future and UPS's future and what you have left to do?
Well, the company, we've had a great past, and our present was still good, and it has been. We just knew that we needed to transform the company if the future was going to be even more positive than our past. So embracing technology, embracing e-commerce, embracing global markets, and that's where we made the moves with the company.
David Abney, thank you for joining me.